Get ready with me and get into the zone to be a guest on a podcast as someone who gets a little bit anxious and a little bit awkward. Now, I always take loads of notes to prepare for podcasts. Then, just before, I will handwrite 1 or 2 pages of key things that I can refer to on the call. I always wear so much makeup when I'm filming to not look washed out, and I think it makes me look like Marge, when Homer shoots her with a makeup gun. I wanted to wear colour for this podcast for a change and really love this lilac, but then I thought, what about the green? So confusing. I think it matches my eyes, so let's go green, at least for now. I like to have a coffee before any filming because once, during a BBC radio interview, I actually spilt hot coffee all over myself. Time for a quick blast of fresh air now to get out of my head and calm some of those nerves. I actually went in for a second coffee, which is bold as someone who is already feeling quite anxious. I then read over a few questions that I know will come up on the call. Time to do a quick tech check. I'm using the Bose Quiet Comfort over ears. The mic is pretty good on these. They're easily my favourite headphones. Quick note check too. Okay, so I then always pick up a book and I'm rereading Frankenstein, so I grab that. Because I sometimes talk way too fast on podcasts and interviews, I just practice reading really slowly for a couple of minutes. I then panicked because I was like, is this green the one? So I made this for Insta stories and loads of people were like, yeah, lilac, go back to the lilac. I also had to move my desk at the last minute because the sky went so dark. So I had to improvise with some new lighting and a completely different angle. I then did my favourite breathing exercise for public speaking. I'll put it on screen in case you want to check it out. Look, I then did some somatic shaking. I know it looks ridiculous, but Google it. It is so good for nerves. Then we got into it. It was such a fun podcast to record. I'm a tech journalist and an author, and we spoke about my career, what it was like to write a book, the advice I give to young writers starting out, how I think AI might impact the industry, and so much more. I'll share a link as soon as it's live so you can all hear it. Now, one thing I find so funny in retrospect is I kept referencing Sisyphus, but I forgot his name. So I kept calling him the hill ball guy. I do quite a lot of podcasts and interviews for radio, especially when my book came out, but I haven't actually done one in a good few months. So this did feel a bit nerve-wracking, but so exciting and really fun. I actually can't believe how much I use my hands when I talk, though. How have I never noticed this before? So that's a wrap. I'm mentally drained here, but feeling so positive and proud, and I can't wait to share details when it's out. Bye!